The research that had the biggest impact on me as a parent, especially during those early years, all had to do with the biology of stress. And the person who guided me through that more than anyone else was a pediatrician in San Francisco named Nadine Burke Harris. She found this one study about the long-term effect of childhood trauma, which really changed her perspective on her work. And in some ways, it changed her whole life. This study, which is called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, says that if you take any group of adults, the ones who have experienced significant amounts of trauma in childhood, they have heart disease rates that are twice as high as normal, cancer rates that are twice as high as normal, emphysema rates that are 4 times as high, suicide rates that are 12 times as high. And what we now understand is that the mechanism behind that phenomenon is stress. The problem comes when children are experiencing stress that is not mild and occasional, but that is intense and chronic, what doctors call toxic stress. And toxic stress doesn't help build up the stress response system. Instead, it debilitates it. It damages it. And that damage gets right under our skin, and it can last a lifetime. We can see its effects on our physical health, on our mental health, and on the development of this crucial set of attention and concentration skills that matter so much in school from the first day of kindergarten to the last day of graduate school. So there's a lot in this research on stress that can be daunting or even depressing, but there is some good news in it as well. And that is that there is a kind of antidote to toxic stress, a secret weapon against it. And that secret weapon is parents. When infants are able to form a close, connected, attuned bond with a parent or another caregiver, what psychologists call a secure attachment, that acts as a kind of insulation against even the worst forms of toxic stress. And one of the ways we know this is through this series of experiments that were done about 15 years ago in Montreal with rats. And one of my great fears is that my son is going to grow up and eventually read my book, and he's going to realize that most of the time when I was playing with him when he was a baby, I was thinking about rats. But it's true, and it's all because of these studies that were done at McGill University by a neuroscientist there named Michael Meany. And Meany was like a lot of neuroscientists. He had a whole lab full of rats, all living in these individual plexiglass cages. Each cage would have a mother rat and then a few of her babies, known as pups. And at a certain point, Meany and his researchers noticed that there was this one particular behavior that certain mother rats would do and others would not do. And they called it licking and grooming. And licking and grooming is not about making your pups look more presentable. It's about soothing them, calming them down when they get stressed out. And if you're a lab rat pup, the thing that stresses you out more than anything else is graduate students. It's those lab assistants who show up once a day or so and take you out of your cage and poke you and prod you and weigh you and measure you and inject you with things and then put you back into your cage. And at that moment, when the lab assistants would put the pups back into their cage, the pups would be scared and nervous and trembling. And at that moment, some of these mother rats would do this soothing ritual, licking and grooming, and others would not. And so Michael Meany wanted to try to figure out what the long-term effect of licking and grooming might be. So he devised this experiment. He divided the mother rats up into 2 categories. The ones who did a whole lot of licking and grooming, he called the high LG mother rats. The ones who didn't do much licking and grooming were the low LG mother rats. Each mother rat raised her pups just for the first week or 2 of life, and then the scientists separated the pups from their mothers. The pups grew to adulthood, which for a rat is about 3 months. And then the scientists gave these new adult rats a whole series of tests. And the rats who had received lots of licking and grooming as pups did better on all kinds of tests. They were braver. They were more curious. They did better at mazes. They were healthier. They lived longer. When the scientists looked at their brains under a microscope, they could see differences in the size and shape of certain parts of their brain, all because of these small, subtle behaviors that certain mother rats had done just in the first week or 2 of life. The subtitle of my book talks about the hidden power of character. I think a lot of people, when they hear this research about rats and stress, they wonder, well, what does this possibly have to do with character? But one of the things I tried to do in this book is to draw connections between different bodies of research that often don't get connected. And I think one of the most profound discoveries that this new generation of neuroscientists has made is the connections that they've been able to draw between infant brain chemistry and adult psychology. What they're really telling us is that underneath this complex collection of noble qualities that we think of as our own character, you can often find the mundane and mechanical interaction of specific chemicals, the firing of particular neurons in the brains of young children.